All right, let's talk about something that could fundamentally change the way you build products forever. We're going to tackle one core idea. You need to stop designing screens and start designing flows. I'm telling you, this single shift in thinking is the secret sauce. It's what separates an app that feels like magic from one that just feels, well, clunky and broken. Let's get into it. I'm going to start with a pretty brutal truth. Most UI designs are actually dead on arrival. They fail long before anyone even thinks about opening Figma or picking a color palette. And no, that's not me being dramatic. It's a diagnosis of a massive problem that honestly plagues way too many projects. And look, the reason these designs fail? It's probably not what you're thinking. It's not because you picked the wrong font, or the color scheme was off, or you weren't using the trendiest new design tool. No. The failure is much, much deeper than that. It happens because the designer, right from the get-go, forgot to ask the most important question of all. How does a person actually move through this thing? So, here's our game plan for today. This is how we're going to fix that mindset. First, we'll talk about the big trap of decorating rectangles. Then we're going to get into a huge mental model shift, maps versus commutes. After that, we'll unlock the secret to real clarity with something I call the one-path rule. Then we'll put it all to the test by designing without any screens at all. And to wrap it up, we'll see how you can use AI to really become a product architect.
Okay, first up, decorating rectangles. This is it. This is the mistake pretty much everyone makes, especially early in their careers. And let me be clear, if you design screens in isolation, one by one, you are not designing a product. You're just decorating rectangles. And our goal today is to kill that habit for good.
I mean, think about it. You've heard this, right? A junior designer proudly announces, "Hey, check it out. I finished the login screen, and the dashboard, and the profile page is done too." Which is great, good job. But so what? What happens between those screens? What's the point of the dashboard? Where's the user supposed to go from there?
And usually, the answer you get to those questions is just crickets, silence. And that silence, that huge gap between all your pretty rectangles, that is the black hole where bad user experience is born. It's where your users get lost, stranded, and where the entire product just completely falls apart.
So here's the big takeaway. A product is not a collection of screens. A product is a sequence of decisions a user makes to get to their goal. If you don't have a sequence, you don't have a product. Period. This is exactly why jumping straight into Figma is such a massive red flag. It makes you ask, what should this look like, long before you've answered the real question, what should happen? That is completely backwards. You have to be an architect before you can be an interior decorator. This brings us to a mental shift that I promise you will change everything. It's all about understanding the difference between a map and a commute. Once you get this, you'll stop thinking like an artist and start thinking like a true architect. See? It reveals this huge conflict in how we approach design. On one side, you have the sitemap. It just asks a simple inventory question. What pages exist? But on the other side, you have the user flow, and it asks a profoundly more important question. What path does the user actually take to get something done? Same product, totally different universe of thinking.
A sitemap is totally static. It's just a list of stuff, an inventory. You've got your home page, your login page, dashboard, profile, you know the drill. It's a nice way to organize your files, I guess, but it tells you absolutely nothing about priority, or logic, or how a real human being thinks. Let's be honest, if all you've designed is a sitemap, you haven't created an experience. You've created a menu.
A user flow, though, now that's dynamic. It's alive. It describes actual behavior. A person enters the app, they have a goal, they take an action, they get a result, and then they either leave or they do it again. This is reality. This is how people work. A flow understands that not all screens are created equal. In fact, most of the time, only one or two screens really matter. The rest are just supporting characters.
And here it is. This is the one analogy I want you to burn into your brain. A sitemap is the entire map of a city. It shows you every single possible street. But a user flow, that's your actual daily commute to work. It's a very specific, optimized path that uses only a tiny fraction of those streets. Your job isn't to design the entire city all at once. Your job is to design the commute. Okay, so if we're designing for the commute, that begs the question, how do we find the right one? Well, that brings us to a powerful rule that forces clarity and creates focus. It's the one-path rule. I want you to really let this sink in. Every single great product has one primary user path. Not two, not five, just one. Now, a lot of people hate this rule. Why? Because it's hard. It forces you to make a choice, to say, this is the most important thing. But if you can't name that single path, I guarantee your product is confused and your users are going to be even more confused.
You hear it all the time, especially from founders. Oh, our app is incredible. It does a million things. That's not a flex, my friends. That is a massive red flag. When everything is important, nothing is. Just look at the apps you use every day. What is the one path for WhatsApp? Sending a message. For Uber, getting a ride. For Instagram, mindlessly scrolling through content. Everything else, literally every other feature, is just there to support that one single primary path.
And it is absolutely crucial that you don't confuse this with just, navigation. A primary path isn't user goes from the dashboard to the profile to settings. That's just clicking on links. A true primary path is a story. It's a story about motivation. It starts with intent, which leads to an action, and that action creates an outcome. Why did the user open your app in the first place? What's the fastest way for them to get value? Answer that before you even think about touching the UI.
Okay, enough theory. Let's make this real. Let's actually apply this. We're going to design a simple app right now, together. No UI tools, no visual fluff, just pure logic. We're going to architect a student course portal, a simple concept that really forces you to prioritize clarity.
Okay, step one, what's the student's intent? Why are they even here? It's not to browse. Let's be real. It's, I need my course notes for my exam that's in an hour, so speed is key. Step two, define what success looks like. For us, success means the student finds their course and gets the material they need in under 60 seconds. That's it. So, step three, we draw the path. It's beautifully simple. Open app, select course, view materials, exit. Done. See? No fancy dashboard, no profile page distractions, just pure fast value. After that's locked in, then and only then can you think about boring stuff like login screens.
And this right here, this leads to a real gut check moment for every single designer. If you cannot explain your app's main flow out loud, in plain English, like you're talking to a friend, then you have absolutely no business trying to design it visually. Your product's architecture is built with words first.
So, now that we're all thinking in flows, now we can finally talk about the shiny new toys. It's time to talk about AI. But we're not going to use it as a lead designer. We're going to use it as our super smart architecture intern. Look, here's where everyone goes wrong with AI. They jump in and ask for UI. They say, design me a beautiful dashboard. Wrong. They completely skip defining the primary path. They just feed it vague ideas. But you have to remember the golden rule of computers. Garbage in, garbage out. So instead, try this. Prompt the AI to create a sitemap for your product. Then, in your next prompt, tell it to design a user flow based on that sitemap for your primary path. You're forcing it to be an architect first. Treat it like a brilliant intern that needs clear direction, not like a magic wizard.
So I'll leave you with this one last question. You probably know every single feature in your product. You know all the pages, all the buttons, all the functions. But do you know it's one true path? Because finding that is the real work of design. If this changed how you think about building things, go ahead and hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe, because we train architects here, not decorators. And please, share this with anyone you know who spends a little too much time just decorating rectangles. Thanks for watching.